In today's video, what we're talking about is fasting during chemotherapy infusions. So this is something you may have heard of before. It is a huge tool for you, and fasting during chemo completely changed the game for me. Literally doing a water fast the day before, the day of, and the day after practically eliminated the symptoms of the chemotherapy. I was never nauseous, even like tired or depressed. I mean, there's a natural fatigue from the fasting, but there was also a calm and a peace that happens because fasting helps to regulate your nervous system. So in today's video, I wanted to go through my fasting protocol for the days when you have chemotherapy. I'm gonna show you two big scientific studies that back this up, and there's plenty more. Number one, the study on your screen right now talks about how fasting during chemotherapy is what we call chemoadaptive. This makes your body receive the chemotherapy and target the cells with even more precision. So when you fast, your healthy cells go dormant. They literally just go to sleep. They hibernate. And while they hibernate, there's this protective shell around them that protects them from toxins and poisons, okay? Now, meanwhile, your cancer cells are all deformed, bro. Like, your cancer cells kind of like don't know what to do. They're these Frankenstein monsters, right? They're over there, they're not using oxygen, they're fermenting. So when you fast, they start to starve. They start to go like, whoa, all of our fuel, because they're fermenting. They go, all of our fuel is dried up because you're not eating. And so they start to kind of like send out their little receptors, and they open their mouths extra wide to get any type of fuel that they can get. What fuel do they get when you're doing chemotherapy? They get the chemotherapy. So your cancer cells become ultra receptive to the chemotherapy, while your healthy cells go dormant and kind of just let the chemotherapy process through your body. Study number two shows that this same fasting effect can be accomplished with an FMD. That's a fasting mimicking diet. So with a fasting mimicking diet, you're eating small amounts of food, but you're eating small amounts of like high fat foods. So it disrupts the autophagy effect. Now, because you're eating food, it's not quite as effective as just fasting, but the fasting mimicking diet is a great intermediary for somebody who maybe has more health problems than I had. I want to tell you guys, I was a wreck. Before I got diagnosed with cancer, I was not the healthy, glowing person you see before you today. So let's talk about your day one protocol. So when you wake up the day before chemo, you've already been fasting for about 8 hours, right? The time that you stopped eating the night before is technically when your fast began. So, I try to stop eating by 8 o'clock every single night, and that's like a rule of thumb for the rest of your life, right? But you're gonna stop eating the night before, you're gonna wake up the day of, and you're gonna fast all day. Now, I don't want you to take your supplements at this time, right? The general rule of fasting is you fast from everything except for water, coffee, and tea. What I want to promote is that you actually don't even do coffee the whole time, right? Is that you get to a place where you're just flushing out your body with water and preferably lemon water. So I want you drinking water all day long. And here's the best thing to do is drink water with lemon juice or squeeze half a lemon. Lemon juice is so much easier. But you just put lemon juice in there and some Redmond's sea salts. And the lemon and the salt act as electrolytes. You have got to keep your electrolytes up. And the first day, if you haven't fasted in a while, you might feel some hunger pains for sure. Like you might feel like your body's natural desire to eat at the normal time that you regularly eat. And the reason for that is because your body has the fuel that it needs. It has enough, you have enough food stored up to take you through the first, I mean, really, you could go quite some time, but it'll take you through quite easily. So the first day, you drink your coffee, enjoy it. So that's day one. Now, day two, you're going into chemotherapy on day two. So this is the big day because your desire is gonna be to eat. You're gonna go to the chemotherapy infusion center and you're gonna see all the people there that are eating fried chicken and eating McDonald's, and even the hospitals will have Mountain Dew, My hospital, both times, had a whole fridge of sodas. And even one day, they came around me with a cart and they offered me free donuts. And I was appalled by it. Like, I believe that the nursing staff had nothing but good intentions. But serving cancer patients sugar is gaslighting. It's pretending that we don't know that sugar is cancer's ultimate fuel. And pretending that we don't know that, pretending that when a doctor says like, well, the data is not conclusive, or that's not what the data shows, that's a very dishonest answer. It's either dishonest or it's underinformed. And for me, that was a breaking point. It was a breaking point for me. It was like, I had heard of this thing happening where the doctors are serving you like sweets and snacks, but I just water off my back. I didn't think about it. And then when they came into the room and they offered me that, I was like, I can't trust my life and my health to these people alone, right? Like, I need to bring in more advisors. And that's exactly what I did. And I started to look beyond the hospital system. That's where I found fasting. And I found people like Dr. Eric Berg. And I found people like Dr. Mindy Pelz. And I found people like Dr. Terry Harmon and Dr. Lori Burchard. And these doctors who knew about these things like fasting. And so on day 2, you're going to struggle. Keep drinking the water. And if it's helpful, get an electrolyte mix. Get like a keto electrolyte mix. The lemon juice and the salt are a natural electrolyte, but on the day of chemo, I wanted to feel like I had a treat. And so I would use a powdered electrolyte in my water during that fast of that day to keep my body healthy. You got to keep your electrolytes up. Like, if you're feeling worn down and tired, it's like your car running without oil. Like, it's like you're grinding, man. Like, your organs and stuff to function during this fast, they need lots of water, lots of lubrication. So you got to keep your body very hydrated. On the second day, I would start to taper off the coffee, like maybe a cup of coffee in the morning. But I want you to start decreasing the caffeine. Lots of rest. This is not a chemotherapy and work scenario. This is not a like fast and get some work done. Now, obviously, if you've got the energy and you're feeling optimistic and you weren't expecting that, and like you enjoy writing or making some Canva graphics, whatever you do for work, right? Great. But for me, this was a rest and recuperate. So on day 2 and day 3, I'm at home and I'm sleeping and I'm watching movies and I'm watching my kids just be kids in front of me, you know? I am not being overly ambitious. So day 3 protocol. Day 3 protocol is rest. Rest and water. No coffee. I don't drink tea. If you drink tea, I would drink tea. Day 1, taper off on day 2. Day 3, water only. Keep the lemon water and the salt. Don't use the electrolyte powder on day 3. Just keep it all natural, because guess what? On day 3, you get to break your fast at dinner time, okay? And you want to get to the full 72 hours of your fast, because at 72 hours, your body starts to do some miraculous things. It's about autophagy. I cover all of the science of fasting in another video. I don't want to, my belief is you've already heard of this at this point, and like, it's like, how do I do it, okay? So on day 3, you're gonna break your fast at like dinner time. Now you want to get to the 72 hours, but sometimes it's like 72 hours is 8 p.m. and like by that time, like my family's asleep or whatever, like we're winding down dinner, like we eat at 5. So like, give yourself some grace, okay? You just did 3 days, you can count it. Now I use the Zero fasting app to measure all this, and I actually paid for the app. There's a free version, but I actually paid for the app. Because I use it so much. So I like to track the numbers, and I like to see kind of how much time I have left and whatnot. But on the 3rd day, you are going to break your fast with in a very specific way. So how you break your fast can actually determine how productive your fast was. So if you break your fast with junk food, like McDonald's or Arby's because you deserve it, or even like a burger with a full-on bun, because you should not be eating bleached carbs or carbs at all during your cancer journey. At least, let me rephrase, like sugary bread, store-bought carbs, okay? Vegetable carbs, fruit carbs are great. When you break your fast, there is a way to do it, and there's a couple different ways to do it. So here's what I'm going to do. For a chemotherapy 3-day fast, you are going to break your fast in 2 parts. Number 1, with a broth, a bone broth with lots of salt. Maybe throw some like green onions in there and some mushrooms in there. Maybe throw some spinach in there. I'm not talking about like a chop soup, but maybe just some stuff to kind of like get your belly moving again, right? You want to keep it really slow. If you are doing keto vegan or if you're doing plant-based, then a veggie broth is just fine. That's how I did. I did a veggie broth, and I would always put like green onions in there and little slivers of mushroom because it just made it more palatable for me. And I would drink it as like a tea. You're gonna eat that and wait about an hour to give yourself a base, and then you're gonna go into a small meal. Now, what do you break your fast with as a small meal? That's what I'm going to talk about in the next video. We're going to talk about what happens when you break your fast with meat, what happens when you break your fast with vegetables, and like what's the proper servings, and how do you refeed after you do a fast. I want you to understand that term, refeed. This is very important. You eat the wrong things, you could undo the fast that you just did. So I want you to watch that video next, but first I want to say good luck with your chemo. I want it to work for you. I do. It didn't work for me, and it didn't work for my friends. So ultimately, I want to see you get healthy and strong enough to get off of chemotherapy. And I want you to know that on this channel, I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. I'm going to back it up with studies, and I'm going to introduce you to other people who have done the same thing. So I want to encourage you to subscribe and to keep watching and to let us be a part of your cancer journey. We have a Facebook group. All that stuff's in the description box. You can take a look at it. But I'm going to put the other video up on my screen in terms of how to refeed after your fast. And I'm going to go through the different types of refeeding. Refeeding is very important. It can determine how successful your fast was. So watch those videos now. I'm Owen, and I'll see you there.